Why does scrolling feel effortless, but your most important work feels like war? Japanese swordsmen answered this 400 years ago. 5 principles that make your brain crave hard work the same way it craves distraction, not willpower, not discipline, mental architecture. By the end of this video, you'll have the complete system. These aren't productivity hacks. They're frameworks samurai use to make brutal training feel ordinary. Rule 5 is the reason most men fail, even when they apply the first 4 correctly. Starting with how ego creates all your resistance. Rule 1, Shoshin, beginner's mind. You sit down to work. Before you even start, there's a voice. You should be faster at this by now. You've done this 100 times. Why does it still feel hard? That voice, that's what's killing you. Not laziness, not lack of discipline. Ego. Every time you judge your performance, you add weight to the task. You're not just doing the work, you're doing the work while simultaneously grading yourself on how well you're doing the work. That's 2 jobs. Your brain treats that judgment as a threat. It activates the same stress response as physical danger. Now, you need willpower just to overcome the resistance you created. This is why the first hour is always the hardest. You're not warming up to the task. You're fighting your own ego. The thoughts stack up. I'm behind schedule. This should be easier. I'm not where I should be. Each one adds friction. Each one requires more willpower to push through. By the time you're actually working, you're already exhausted. Japanese archery masters figured this out centuries ago. They called it Kudo, the way of the bow. A master could stand in front of a target for 8 hours, shooting hundreds of arrows. But here's the key. They trained themselves to forget each shot the moment it left the bow. The previous arrow didn't exist. The next arrow didn't exist. Only this arrow, this moment. No judgment, no comparison, no ego. That's Shoshin, beginner's mind. You approach the task like it's the first time you've ever done it. Not because you're pretending to be incompetent, because you're eliminating the weight of expectation. A beginner doesn't judge their performance. They're just doing the thing. Curious, present, no internal commentary about whether they should be better. This is the first shift. Stop carrying your history into the work. Your last project doesn't matter. Your previous performance doesn't matter. Right now, you're just doing the task. That voice that says, you should be better, that's not motivation. That's resistance wearing a mask. Removing ego eliminates one source of resistance, but your environment is still fighting you. Rule 2, strategic space. You sit down. You tell yourself, I'm working for the next 4 hours. No breaks, no structure. Just grind until it's done. 2 hours in, you're fried. 3 hours in, you're forcing every sentence, every decision, every keystroke. By hour 4, you're not working anymore. You're just sitting there, staring, hoping momentum comes back. It won't, because you're missing rhythm. TikTok is addictive because of rhythm, not content. Every video is a completion point. Scroll, reward. Scroll, reward. Scroll, reward. Your brain gets a micro hit of dopamine every 15 seconds. That's why you can scroll for an hour without effort. Your work? No rhythm, no completion points. Just one massive, undefined block of suffering. Your brain doesn't see progress. It sees a threat that never ends. So it resists the entire process. This is why willpower dies. You're asking your brain to sprint a marathon with no mile markers, no water stations, no finish line in sight. Just run until you collapse. Your brain refuses. Not because you're weak, because you're asking for something that violates biology. Japanese sword makers understood this. They'd fold steel, hammer it, heat it, then pause. Completely stop. Look at the blade, breathe, then return. Tea ceremony masters built entire rituals around pauses. Pour the water. Pause. Lift the cup. Pause. Every action had space around it. They called it ma, the intentional gap between movements. Ma isn't rest, it's rhythm. It's the space that makes the action possible. Without it, you're just grinding metal against metal until both break. With it, you're creating something that gets sharper with every fold. Apply this to your work. 45 minutes of focus, 5-minute complete stop. Not a break where you check your phone, a pause. Stand up, look out the window, breathe, then return. Your brain just got a completion point, a micro reward, proof that progress exists. Now it's willing to go again. Structure creates rhythm. Rhythm eliminates resistance. But here's the problem. Rhythm gets you to the work. It doesn't put you in the state where work happens through you instead of by you. Now you have rhythm, but you still need to enter the actual flow state. Rule 3, Mushin, no mind state. You're in the work, you're focused, but there's still a voice. Am I doing this right? Is this good enough? Should I approach this differently? That voice, that constant monitoring, is what's stopping you from flow. You're thinking about the work while doing the work. That's the problem. Every task has two layers: the task itself, and your consciousness observing you doing the task. That observer is what creates friction. It's analyzing, evaluating, questioning every move. Is this the best approach? Could I do this faster? Am I wasting time? Your brain is simultaneously performing and critiquing the performance. That split attention is what makes everything feel hard. The more you think about the task, the more resistance you create. Because your brain's primary job isn't to help you work, it's to protect you. And hard work registers as a threat. So your consciousness keeps checking. Is this safe? Should we stop? This feels uncomfortable. Every check pulls you out of the action. Every evaluation adds weight. This is what you're actually chasing. The state where work happens through you, not by you. Where your hands move, your mind processes, your decisions flow, and you're not thinking about any of it. You're just doing it. Samurai swordsmen called this Mushin. They trained until combat became reflexive. In a duel, if you think I should block high or now I'll counter, you're already dead. Thinking takes time. Consciousness creates delay. Mushin meant the sword moved before the thought formed. Action without the observer. Pure response. That's the state you need, not for combat, for your work. The place where you stop monitoring and start moving, where the code writes itself, where the strategy builds itself, where your hands know what to do before your brain catches up. But here's the truth. Mushin is impossible without the next principle. Because right now, even if you reach this state, it disappears the next day. You can't sustain it. Not yet. First, understand this. Mushin isn't something you force. It's something you fall into when the conditions are right. Mushin is the goal, but it's temporary without a system to make it permanent. Rule 4. Keiko, reflective practice. You've written 100 emails, sat through 100 meetings, built 100 presentations. So why does it still take the same amount of energy? Why hasn't it gotten easier? Because you're practicing wrong. Most people think repetition equals mastery. Do the thing enough times, it becomes automatic. That's a lie. Repetition without reflection just makes you better at struggling. You're not practicing the skill. You're practicing resistance. Every time you force your way through the task the same way, you're reinforcing the hard path. You've done it 100 times, and it still feels hard. That's proof you're repeating the wrong pattern. You don't need more practice. You need the right type of practice. Samurai understood this. A master swordsman didn't just swing his blade 10,000 times. He swung once, then stopped, studied that swing. What felt forced? Where was the wasted movement? What could be smoother? Then he adjusted, swung again. This was Keiko, the practice that included the pause, the reflection, the conscious refinement before the next repetition. That's the difference. Keiko isn't mindless repetition. It's intentional evolution. You do the task. Then you stop and ask, what created friction? Where did I fight myself? What drained energy unnecessarily? You identify the specific point of resistance. You adjust the approach. Then you do it again. This is how temporary flow becomes permanent capability. Mushin showed you the state. Keiko shows you how to make that state automatic. Every cycle of work becomes smoother, not because you're trying harder, because you're eliminating the inefficiencies that caused resistance in the first place. Conscious effort transforms into unconscious competence. Keiko makes flow automatic. But here's the problem. You can remove ego, build rhythm, enter flow, and refine your practice. And still, the moment real pressure hits, it all collapses. There's one mindset shift that ensures you never lose it. Rule 5. Heijoshin, everyday mind. Here's the trap you've been living in. You sit down for important work, and your body tenses. Your breathing gets shallow. Your heart rate climbs. Why? Because you've made this task special. You've elevated it. This presentation determines my promotion. This project defines my career. This work session proves whether I'm disciplined or weak. You've turned work into an event, and your nervous system responds to events like threats. The more important you make the task, the more your brain resists it. Because importance equals stakes. Stakes equal pressure. Pressure activates your fight or flight response. Now you're not just doing the work. You're doing the work while your body is screaming that you're in danger. That's why your most important work feels the hardest. Not because it's actually harder, because you've made it mean too much. This is where everything collapses. You removed ego with Shoshin. You built rhythm with Ma. You entered flow with Mushin. You refined your practice with Keiko. But the moment the stakes feel real, the deadline, the presentation, the outcome that matters, all of it disappears. You're back to grinding, back to forcing, back to willpower. Why? Because you're still treating difficult work like it's special. Zen tea masters spent decades perfecting ceremonies that looked identical to washing dishes. Every movement precise, every gesture intentional. But they performed these ceremonies with the same mind they used to sweep the floor. Not because the ceremony wasn't profound, because treating it as ordinary was what made it profound. Samurai did the same, the ability to treat battle with the same calm presence as breakfast. Not by pretending the battle didn't matter, by understanding that elevation creates paralysis. The master swordsman who survived wasn't the one who hyped himself up before the duel. It was the one who walked to the fight like he was walking to the well. This is the shift that makes everything permanent. Stop making your work special. It's not a test of your worth. It's not proof of your discipline. It's not the thing that defines you. It's just work. Ordinary work. The same work you did yesterday. The same work you'll do tomorrow. Without Heijoshin, Shoshin fails because ego creeps back in when stakes rise. Ma collapses because you abandon rhythm when you think this time is different. Mushin disappears because consciousness floods back in when you decide the outcome matters. Keiko becomes exhausting because you're practicing under pressure instead of presence. But with Heijoshin, the system holds under any condition, any pressure, any stakes. This is why hard work can feel like TikTok. Not because it's easy, because it's ordinary. Remove ego, build rhythm, enter flow, make it automatic, treat it as ordinary. That's the system. 5 principles that eliminate the need for willpower entirely. You don't need more discipline. You needed better mental architecture. You now have the system. But systems fail without one thing: the ability to use them when everything in you wants to quit. That video explains it. Check it out.